Welcome to another edition of the Marvin Byrd Show. I'm your host, Marvin Byrd. Here we believe that teachers are leaders, and as a result, we purpose ourselves to equip you with the skills and information that you need in order to lead your students to success. So glad that you're here. Let's go. So the topic of today's episode is this: being right is wrong? Question mark. Being right is wrong? Question mark. Being right is wrong? Question mark. Now, definitely, I'm going to share with you some research that proves that being right can be wrong. Being right can be wrong. Now, it's not always going to be easy to convince your students of this, but as a leader in the classroom, you have to take a proactive approach to tending to the way your students think, to the way that they process information. You have to proactively address that because you are the leader in the classroom. Yes, you can remove that question mark. Yes, being wrong is right. Being right can be very beneficial. And definitely the challenge for you is to convince your students of this. So I want to share with you some research that I have here, and as always, I will make that research available on my website, marvinbird.com. Also, if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get a link to the video and audio version of my podcast, and then you'll also get some notes to go along with it. So this research I'll definitely make available. Check this out here. I'm quoting here, there is considerable research on learning, motivation, and neurology that shows how important being wrong is for achievement and the healthy development of dispositions such as growth mindset. Boom. Growth mindset, persistence, resilience, self-regulation, and risk-taking. Now, listen, those things towards the end there, that's the money. That's exactly what we're looking for. Growth mindset, persistence, resilience, self-regulation, and risk-taking. Yes, please. How do we get there? How do I convince my students? How do I help my students grow in the areas of developing that growth mindset? Showing persistence, resilience, being able to regulate themselves as my iPhone makes noises as I'm recording here. And then how do I encourage them to take risks? That is the challenge at the feet of every teacher. How do we get there? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share with you some of this research, and then I'm going to give you some of my commentary as well. But that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we set the atmosphere? How do we tend to the environment, the culture in the classroom so that all students are accepting of, okay, I was wrong, but there's something here. There's value. There is value in me being brave enough to raise my hand, answer that question, and I got it wrong. So at that point, there's how is a student going to react to that? Are they going to just recede within themselves? Are they going to just like, oh, don't call on me anymore? That was just traumatizing, the fact that I got that answer wrong. Or are they going to boldly raise their hand, answer to the best of their ability and their knowledge at that time, get it wrong, and then have the attitude of, I got that wrong. Let me analyze my thinking. Why did I get that wrong? How was my thinking at that time incorrect in that little moment? Because that moment doesn't define me. It doesn't define who I am. I've got plenty of abilities. I can do this. I'm just not there yet. I'm on my way, and being wrong, that's a part of the process. That's the way you want your students to really process that experience of being wrong, because being wrong can be right. Being wrong can be right, especially when they're on that journey to mastery. And we've got to convince students of that. And there are a number of things in the way. Please don't think that I don't understand that, or that because I'm not in the classroom, I don't remember that. Please don't. I know you're probably thinking that to yourself. No, I remember that. I remember the student with just the low self-esteem. They just like, I can't do this. I've never been good at this. It's just not going to happen for me. I can't do this. I've never been good at math. I've never been good at history. It's just not going to happen. There's also the student with the low self-efficacy. The low self-efficacy. They just like, ooh, no matter how hard I try, I can't do it. I can't be successful. I'm willing to do these different things, but I just know it's just not going to work. Yeah, that's another challenge. And then what about the student that surrounds themselves and they insulate themselves with other students who maybe they're not as successful, and so they come to you and say something like, well, hey, why is everyone failing this class? And it's just difficult. Those situations are because you're trying to get them to understand and embrace that, okay, you're not there yet, but what can we do? What adjustments can we make in order to get you there? But then, like I said, you just have students who are just stuck in that thinking that, well, my circle of friends, they're not doing well, so this must be impossible. So there's my excuse. This is your fault that I can't succeed in this class. It's your fault that I got that wrong. So there's just a number of challenges that we as teachers have to face when we try to address this, when we try to build up that growth mindset within our students, when we try to help them be resilient and be persistent and take risks. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I understand it. I remember what that's like. And I want to say, before I get some more into this research, I want to say to those of you who are out there, you're watching this, I know you're trying. I know you're doing different things. You're experimenting. That's awesome. There is no one individual thing that's going to be the master key that's going to solve all of the issues that you're trying to find a solution to. So it takes a number of things. So that's why I'm glad that you're here. And I pray that some of the information that I share with you can help you. All right, let's begin. So in this article, and once again, I'm going to share this research with you. You'll be able to find this research, marvinbyrd.com. Then also you can sign up for my newsletter, and I'll put the link to the actual page for those of you who are watching in the description section of the YouTube video. And then for those of you who are listening, I'll make sure that information is available to you as well. So you're going to get the research. So let me go with this. Here's how there's six. This research gives you six takeaways. These are things that you can do to build a positive culture in terms of being wrong. How to build a positive being wrong culture. That's the way I want to say that. A positive being wrong. Oh, I got that wrong. But that's okay. That's okay, because I'm still worthy. I'm just not there yet, and this is just part of my process. That's how you want your students to think. And let me say this too before we get into it. After I said that we were just going to get into it, you have to address this. Because there is this internal struggle within a lot of students. There's this voice this voice that you need to address. You can't hear it, but it's going on within the heads of many of your students probably, or it's telling them that, oh, you don't want to raise your hand to answer that question, or, ooh, you're not very sure. I know you think you know the answer, but you probably don't want to put yourself out there and look foolish in front of your friends. You don't want to do that. So as a teacher, that's how, as a leader, no, let me say that as a leader, that's why it's just so important that you be proactive in addressing that. And that's why I'm so happy that you're here. So here we go. 6 keys to build a positive being wrong culture in the classroom. Number 1, it says here in the research, follow their questions with adequate wait time. Follow their questions with adequate wait time. So number one, this is probably a review for many of you, but please bear with me. You are able to build a positive being wrong culture when you, number one, when you follow your questions with an adequate wait time. Pay attention to that. Adequate wait time. Now, again, that's probably a review for 99.9% of you. But if you didn't know, wait time, that's important. Wait time, that's important. And it can be awkward at times. But when you pose a question to your students, you've got to give them the opportunity to go through that process, so that they can really think about the information, because some students, they may need a little bit more time than others. And when you give this appropriate wait time, when you give this appropriate wait time, you're giving everybody an equal opportunity to put their voice in the room. And it just, there's just something about those moments when students are able to successfully put their voice in the room. It really, it uplifts them, it motivates them. And it's an opportunity, especially when they get it right. It's an opportunity for you to praise them. It's an opportunity for you to praise students. And then, you know what? It's also an opportunity for you to catch them. And help them and give that feedback in that moment when they get the answer wrong. There's a number of things that you can do, and I've seen teachers in these moments when they're holding these Q&A sessions, and students that they get things wrong. And what I've found is just the biggest thing is just to be warm and friendly. I've told a teacher, I've explained it to a teacher like this: would I be comfortable with you teaching my child how to ride a bike? Would I be comfortable with you teaching my child how to ride a bike? You remember that. Those of you who are her parents, you remember just running alongside your child as they were learning how to ride. You remember those things. You remember, you're given instructions, and your kid is like, they're not necessarily listening, and it's just like, ooh, and you're thinking, oh, if you would just do what I'm telling you to do, then this is gonna be great. And you remember that, and throughout it all, you understand that it's something, it's pretty scary for a kid learning how to ride a bike. And so when you're in that moment, when you're teaching a child how to ride a bike, you need to be warm, you need to be friendly, you need to be motivating to that student. And so giving wait time is so very important, because during that wait time as well, students may be working up the courage to put their hand up and do it, because they know that you're warm and friendly, that you're going to catch them if they make a mistake, and you're gonna help them through it, and it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be the end of the world if they get the answer wrong. So wait time is important. And I would also say this, because I shared this with my students when I was in the classroom: it's not about speed. It's not about speed. So many times I've witnessed just students just equate speed with being smart. Like if someone was able to just like, ooh, I got the answer like so quickly in 0.3 seconds. Ooh, wow, you're smart. No, it's not about speed. It's, what everyone is different. And so, it varies among students how much time they need in order to process information. And in those moments, when you this is the goal, when you understand how students think, when you understand how they think when they get an answer correct and when they get an answer incorrect, that's gold. They're giving you feedback, and then you can turn around and give them feedback because you know how they're thinking. Their answers are they're a window into their thinking. And that's why you need to get proper wait time, because you need to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity, because there's students that you really, really do need to hear from. And like in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, come on, Johnny, please raise your hand. Come on, Johnny. Come on, take a shot. You can do this, Johnny. So give that proper wait time. And when you do this, you're showing students that, yeah, okay, yeah, Jenny over there, yeah, she got the question wrong, but she didn't seem hurt. She didn't seem embarrassed, because I got an outstanding teacher who's warm and friendly, and that's going to catch me if I make a mistake. Oh, okay. I just might answer that next question. You want to put that into the room. You want to put that kind of vibe into the classroom. Okay. All right. So that's number one. Number two, a teacher who really builds that positive being wrong culture in the classroom. Provide prompts to help students correct mistakes. Provide prompts to help students correct mistakes. Provide prompts to help students correct mistakes. And this is it right here. Like this is the money right here, because as I said before, when they give you an incorrect answer, they're showing you their thinking. They're giving you valuable information. If they're really trying, they're making 100% full faith effort. It's important that you use that you use that, and not necessarily give them the correct answer, because that's not what the research is saying. The research is telling us that we need to provide prompts to help them correct the mistake. And the mistake, where did the mistake start? The mistake started up here. It started with their thinking. They were thinking incorrectly. And so now you, as the leader, understanding that, you've got to correct some thinking. When I was in the classroom, what I really enjoyed doing, and this was really successful for me, was to answer a question with a question. Answer a question with a question. And I'd love doing this, because I would answer, because if they were incorrect, I knew that they were thinking incorrectly. And so I was able to kind of get them back on track by, either answering a question with a question or posing a question to them to kind of gear them, or to try to turn their thinking to a different direction, to get them to think differently. What kind of question? Here it is right here. What question can I ask this student to get this student to think differently? Because that's what it's all about. When they enter your classroom, you want your students to think differently. So that was my go-to move, is to answer a question with a question, or pose questions to students to get them thinking a little bit differently. And it could be one question, it could be two, it could be three questions. What I like to do a lot is I like to ask a question, because I knew that question, like this question is going to be money right here. They're going to get it once I pose this question to them and they really start thinking about it. So I used to just drop that question on them and I just walk away. And the reason that I would walk away is because I wanted to send the message to my students that, hey, you know what? You can do this without me. You can do 99.9% of the hard work without me. I'm just going to give you just a little push, just like with lifting weights. How when someone needs maybe if they're bench pressing, maybe someone needs someone to lift the bar up and put it in their hands. Like that's I always wanted to send that message to my students that I'm just gonna give you a little bit, and you're gonna handle the rest because I believe that you can do this. And it's just it was amazing to see that look of just revelation that came across their face, like when they really. And it was amazing to see that look of that look that when that when they had that revelation. It was amazing to see that look on their face when I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. You can do this. You got this. Those moments were money. Those moments were money. And I really do. I miss those moments in the classroom. So prompt your students. Now, let me ask you this. How do you prompt your students? What kind of prompts do you use? I pose questions or answer questions with a question. I want to know what you do. Leave a comment in the leave a comment below. How do you prompt your students to get them to think differently? I want to hear about that. We want to hear about that. Yeah. Number three here. We want to encourage and reward risk taking that leads to errors. Encourage and reward risk taking that leads to errors. You know, with this one is very simple. You need to praise when you get what you expected. Praise when you get what you expected. Praise your students when they meet expectations. When you're getting exactly what you want. When you want we say we want our students to take risks. When they do it, yes, you took a risk. And so I think that this means that we're constantly talking about risk taking, especially risk taking that just, it didn't work out. It was wrong. The answer was wrong, but you took a risk, and that's awesome. So this is something that you're going to have to constantly talk about. You're going to have to, I would say, find a way to really embed this in your culture, whether it be quotes that you share, whether it be stories or just different things, whatever you can think of. And it's just so, as a leader, there's no cap on your creativity. You need to be creative in order to get this, in order to send this message, in order to encourage and reward risk taking that leads to errors. What things come to your mind when I say that? How do you encourage, or how would you encourage and reward risk taking that leads to errors? How do you do that? You're a smart, well-educated audience. I'm just going to leave that right there. How do you do that? I want you to sit and reflect on that. How am I going to encourage and reward risk-taking that leads to errors? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Who's my go-to person? Who's my PD person? Who's going to help me in my building? Who's going to sit and brainstorm with me on this? How are you going to do that? I'm just going to leave that out there. That's your homework. That's your assignment. Because this, I can imagine it's going to take a lot of repetition. A lot of repetition. in order to train your students to accept this as a new normal. It's like, ooh, why is I just answered a question and it was wrong. Why is my teacher doing backflips because I got it wrong? Like those kinds of things. Like, oh, I got that wrong. I didn't do this right. I wrote that paragraph incorrectly. I did, why is my teacher giving me a piece of candy? Repetition. It's going to take a lot of repetition, because with this, you're changing the way that they think. And it's not necessarily about content, but it's about the effort. It's about the effort. And think of it, effort is everything. Effort, that affects everything. And you need from your students, you need that 100% full faith effort from your students, because when they're giving that to you, that's feedback, that's information. That's information. That's a window into their thinking. And you can use that in order to give them feedback to help them get closer to the goal. So that's money. So we're going to make this a two-parter, because I don't want to go too long here. So we're going to make this a two-parter. This is going to be a two-parter. So let me sum these up again for you. Let me sum these up again. Number one, when we talk about how to build a positive being wrong culture in your classroom. Number one, teachers, when they follow their questions with adequate wait time. And again, that's not groundbreaking for a lot of you, but some of you, we need that reminder, because it can be uncomfortable when we have that wait time. Number two, you want to provide prompts to help students correct mistakes. Address the mistakes and correct them. That's always a good thing. Always going to be a good thing. And then number three, you want to encourage and reward risk-taking. Encourage and reward risk-taking that leads to errors. And again, your homework is, how are you going to do that? Who's going to work with you in order to brainstorm ways in order to do that? So those are just three of the takeaways from this research. And I will go through 4, 5, and 6 next week. So please make sure that you join us here at the Marvin Byrd Show to get the conclusion of my findings from this research. So I thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to check out marvinbyrd.com. Don't forget, on my website, I have the Classroom Leadership blog. There you have very, very brief blog posts that can contribute to your personal, professional development. I encourage you to check those out, and meet us back here again next week. And until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.